let's talk about state champions. Specifically, I'm going to hand out the UIL state championships right now. Like, we're not going to play a season. I'm just going to declare the champion. No, that's not true. But we are on the precipice of the 2020 Texas high school football season kicking off. And what I want to do is take a look at the 12 UIL Texas high school football state champions and give you my list, my top 10 teams that I think are most likely to repeat as Texas high school football champions. So top 10. So there will be 2 that I don't mention, right? But I do think that I think what's interesting, if you take a look at our rankings, our preseason rankings in the 2020 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, I believe you will only see 3 defending champions ranked number 1. 4. I'm sorry, 4. You'll see 4.
Yes.
That is pretty low. I think last year we had 8. 8 or maybe even 9. But we only have 4 this year, and I think that's because realignment shakes things up. I think that a lot of the champions are losing a fair amount of their team. And furthermore, I think that there's just a lot of unknowns as far as a lot of the defending state champions are concerned. And so here's what I want to do is I want to count them down. My 10 Texas high school football state champions most likely to repeat. So these are only reigning state champions, right? So like Denton Ryan is not on this list because Denton Ryan is not a reigning state champion. Right? I'm not saying these are the 10 most likely teams to win a state championship. I'm saying these are the 10 teams that I think are most likely to repeat as state champions. Not all of them will repeat. I'm just ranking how my confidence level in them. Got it? Cool. Let's start with number 10. Number 10! The Richland Springs Coyotes. It's really hard to pick against the team that has the most state championships in UIL Texas high school football history, right? Richland Springs is a team that has 9 state championships to their name. And if you want to pick Richland Springs to win another state championship, history is on your side.
Yeah.
Right?
I would agree.
Now, the one thing I will say is that they are losing a fair amount from last year's team. They do bring back Landon Burkhart, probably their best overall player in Landon Burkhart, their spread back. But they've got a lot of different pieces to fill in the gaps. Furthermore, I do think that 1A Division II is on the upswing. So I think they're going to be challenged week in and week out. Richland Springs checks in at number 10 in my rankings. Number 9, the Pleasant Grove Hawks, the reigning 4A Division II state champions. And this one's complicated because I do think that there's a lot to like about this team. There's a lot to like about this team, most notably on the defense. Now, Marcus Burris is out for the year because of an Achilles injury, and that hurts. But they still have an outstanding defensive line, led by Landon Jackson. The defense should still be very good. They do have to replace Ben Harmon at the quarterback spot, so I wonder how they're going to be able to operate that kind of
their chemistry.
Yeah, I mean he's a huge part of the way that their offense operates. But furthermore, they are now in the same division as Carthage.
Yep,
we'll get to them in just a moment. But I'm going to put Pleasant Grove at number 9. I think they've got the pieces to repeat, but I think the road got tougher for them. They're number 9. Number 8, the Westlake Chaps. This is a really complicated one because I do like a lot of what Westlake brings back, a whole lot about what they bring back. This is a Westlake team that I think is poised to make a very good run. I think Kate Klubnik is the future there. I think he's got a great chance to make a big.
And it seems like they've pretty much dead set decided on him, obviously.
Yeah.
Because they were wanting 3 of them at the beginning of the year.
I think Jaden Greathouse, the sophomore wide receiver who was the first ever freshman to start at Westlake, I think he's got a chance to make a big impact, and they'll need him to because they do lose Mason Mangum and Ryan Lindley.
Yes.
I think the defense has a chance to be maybe not as good, but still pretty darn good. But I do think Division II is going to be tougher. We project Katie's going to go to Division II bracket. And if they go in there, now they did just lose their running back for the year. But this is a team that is that I think it has a chance to make some noise. Alvin Shadow Creek is now in there. Denton Geyer is probably going to go Division II route. So there's a lot in here, a lot of landmines here. They are certainly capable of doing it. I'm going to slot them at number 8, most likely to repeat as state champion. Number 7,
The Movers.
let's go to Carthage. So this is weird because, like, I think Carthage is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take.
Whoa.
I think they're really good, and I think that you bet against Scots are at your own peril.
Yes.
They are a team that I am very bullish on for a couple of different reasons. One of them is that I think that their defense has a chance to really take a step forward. I think that their defense has a chance to take a step forward. I think they're going to be able to run the ball with Mason Courtney. They do bring back Kai Horton at the quarterback spot. I think the offensive line has a chance to be really, really good. But they are in the same division now as Pleasant Grove. And so it's hard, like when we think so highly of Pleasant Grove, it's hard to just say, oh, Carthage is so much farther ahead of them. I still think that's the case. I'm going to put them kind of side by side. I think Carthage is your favorite, but because of the road that they would have to travel, I'm going to put them at number 7, the 7th most likely team to repeat. Number 6, the Grandview Zebras. So, Grandview is a really interesting case. I like Grandview a lot, and it's hard not to. Okay, I love what Ryan Ebner's been able to continue there, taking over for Brad Davis. This is a really, really impressive team, and they've got the guy. Mm-hmm. They've got Dane Yench, who's like one of the biggest winners in Texas high school football history, right? Dane Yench is a superstar, right? Now, I think they also bring back Demetrius Crownover. I think they have some rebuilding to do on the defensive side, and that gives me a little bit of pause on them. Furthermore, I also think that they are going to have to go up against a resurgent Brock team that is now on, still on their side of the bracket. I think they're in the same region as Pottsboro, who looms. They're in the same region as Malakoff, who looms. They're on the same side of the bracket as Wall, who looms. They're in the same region as Grandview, or Gladewater rather, who looms. Those teams, because of the way the bracket shook out, you have the top 6 teams for us in 3A Division I all on their side of the bracket, including a number of them who are in their own region. That makes it very tough. And when you have some questions on the defensive side, the 2-time defending champs in Grandview, I slot them at number 6, most likely to repeat. Number 5.
Not a shocker.
The Aledo Bearcats. Death Taxes in Aledo. It's the program that's won the most state championships in UIL history, and they are a juggernaut, right? There's just a lot to like about this Aledo team. Now, they do have to replace some key pieces. They are losing. They have a quarterback who is not named Bishop. They are losing a running back who went to Alabama in Jace McClellan, right?
Which is the first time in out of the 9 years, 9 state titles, they've only had 2 that they haven't had.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bishops. Now they have the kid transferring in, I believe, from Glenrose? Godley.
Yes.
The kid transferring in from Godley. He's supposed to be the new quarterback there. They still have JoJo Earl, and they still have DeMarco Roberts. I still like a lot of these pieces here. But they have some pieces to. I mean, they lost Money Parks. They lost Aiden Haynes, who I think was a big part of the way that offensive line worked. They've got some pieces to some holes to fill. And, by the way, they were taken to the limit by Ennis, and Ennis looks like they could be just as good, if not better, than they were last year. That said, look, it's Aledo. They've got 9 state championships. They've got the most state championships in UIL history. There is no reason to doubt them. I slot them number 5. I don't think I have questions about them, but you doubt Aledo and you doubt Tim Buchanan at your own peril. They're number 5. Number 4, the Refugio Bobcats. I'm trying to find a spot where Jason Herring will be least mad at me, and I think 4 is where I want it to be. Okay, look.
We're going to tweet him.
Refugio, I think that this Refugio team has a chance to be just as good as they were last year, and that is a high bar, and I realize what I'm saying there, considering some of the pieces that they lost, including Esigio Mascoro and Austin Ochoa. But I think that there are some really, really interesting pieces here, like Xavier Wills, the running back spot. He was an all-state linebacker as well. Jordan Kelly is kind of he's the straw that stirs the drink for this Refugio team. Antoine Gross, Landon Parson. I think this Refugio team is loaded for bear. Now, look, they run into the same situation that they seem to always run into, which is, oh, yeah, they're in the same region as Shiner and Mason and Ganado, who's moving in and stuff like that.
The bloodbath.
It's a meat grinder. It's a meat grinder. And I am sensitive to that. That said, look, I think that they have all the pieces in place to make another run. And I think that they've got a chance to win a state championship. Refugio is the 4th most likely team to repeat as state champion, in my opinion. Number 3, the Gunter Tigers. Let's go to 3A Division 2. And the Gunter is a perfect example of how much do you value a system, okay? Because if you just look at the numbers, right? They only bring back 4 starters on offense and 3 starters on defense. If you just look at the numbers, you'd say, okay, step back for them. You would say that. But I think they feel really good about the youngsters they've got coming up to fill some holes. I think they feel really good about the opportunity for their defense to really step up and a lot of these youngsters on the defensive side to make a big move. And furthermore, because of the style of offense that they run, or that kind of pistol option offense, that's extremely hard to game plan for, and they are going to be a team that I think is going to be able to, with Ethan Sloan and Hut Graham at the quarterback spot, I think this team has a chance to get right back to a state championship game. Now, look, they will probably, the thing that I like about them, one of the reasons that I put them here, is that I think that, depending on what you think of Eastland and Holiday, I think they're the favorite to come out of Region 2.
Right.
They'd run into Canadian in the semifinal,
which is
they
pretty normal.
They always run into Canadian, and then they'd run into a team, depending on who you think from out east, whether it's Dangerfield, Paul Hewitt, Newton, someone like that. That is to me a much more manageable road, up until like the regional final.
Yes.
Than a lot of these other teams that I've already mentioned. A lot of it has to do with the draw that they have. That's why Gunter checks in at number 3 in my most likely to repeat. Number 2. The North Shore Mustangs. Okay. So, again, we're faced with a situation kind of like Grandview, where they have a lot of pieces to replace, but they've got the stars. They've got Demetrius Davis. They've got Shadrack Banks. They've got a lot of pieces going together that I really like here on North Shore. Furthermore, they've got the pedigree, and I think that North Shore is now at the point where they walk off the bus and they beat a lot of teams.
Right.
Because you look across and you see North Shore across the chest and you go, uh-oh.
Here we go. Yeah.
I like this North Shore team a lot. I think that they are going to I think that especially if Katy goes the Division II route, I think that they would be the favorite to come out of that right side of that bracket, especially if you think that maybe this could be a step back here for a team like Lake Travis. I really like what they bring back. I think North Shore is my number 2 team, most likely. And beyond that, if they get to the playoffs, you've got crazy amount of playoff experience there with Demetrius Davis, Shadrack Banks, and those guys.
It's just confidence. You can't.
Exactly. You can't teach that.
You can't teach that, and especially even the young guys watching them come up, who have, even if they were on the freshman team, they've been on the sideline for the state championships. I mean, that's just
the biggest question for me.
Invaluable.
The biggest question for me is going to be what happens on the offensive line in the secondary.
Right.
If they can rebuild the offensive line in the secondary, I think they're in good shape. Finally, my number 1 team, most likely to repeat. You probably could have guessed it by now.
Not a surprise.
Let's go from the large classification to the smallest 11-man classification. Let's go to Mart. Look, we had kind of sniffed this out a while ago. A couple of years ago, that you started looking at their roster and you started saying, oh my gosh, these guys are so young. They're so young, like they could win 4 or 5 in a row. And, well, this is year 4. They've won 3 in a row. And you look at the guys that have come. I mean, this is a team that has 16 starters coming back.
Yep. And the guy, just like how Grandview has Dane Yinch, they have Rodrell Freeman.
They've got Rodrell Freeman. They've got up front, they've got Cameron Atkins, who I think is a freak at the 2A Division II level. I think their line play really gets underrated. Now, look, that's not to say that there are no holes to fill. But when you take a look at 2A Division II, they have to start the year, I think, as, if not the prohibitive favorite, at least the undisputed favorite. Because you can make an argument that their biggest challenge on their whole side of the bracket is going to come from within their own district in Bremont.
Right. So
It just sets up really well for Mart. Everything clicks. They are, in my mind, the most likely team to repeat as state champions in 2020.
Well, and after talking with them too, like talking with Rodwell, there was just not another option in his mind.
Mm-mm.
Like he's like, we're getting 4. That's it. And he didn't say it like overly confident or cocky. Even it was just, man, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna get our 4th one. Like,
right. And here's the thing. Okay, there are a lot of good teams in 2A Division 2. Okay, Hamlin, Stratford, Wellington, Windthorst, Wink, Albany, Munster. Right, all those teams I just listed, they would only play one of them in a title game.
Yep, because they're all on the other side of the bracket.
They're all on that side of the bracket. They're on the left side of the bracket. And to me, that is their biggest strategic advantage, is a lot of those teams that I think might be the second or third best team in those regions, in 2A Division 2, they're all going to beat each other up. And then you get to a title game, and who's got more big game experience than Mart?
Yeah, literally no one.
That's why Mart is my number 1 most likely team to repeat as Texas high school football state champions in 2020.